Good morning. The New South Wales opposition has called on the state government to seek Commonwealth support to take pressure off the hospital system and testing queues. For more, I'm joined by Eddie Meyer at the desk. Eddie, we've seen these queues stretch out way again today.
Oh, absolutely. Across Sydney, Bondi, Rose Bay, Liverpool, Roselands and Northern Beaches, some stretching for kilometres again. Now, you add to that the 2,000 hospital staff who've been furloughed, and the opposition says it's not good enough now for the Premier just to come out and say, we're all going to get Omicron, we have to do something about it, and they're saying that we need to call in the Commonwealth right away to provide extra assistance to take pressure off the whole system.
We're saying to the Premier very clearly, if you need to call in the Commonwealth for extra support, do so now. Our healthcare system is at breaking point. Our healthcare workers are at a crisis. We need to make sure they have all of the support, all of the resources, and that the community has all of the resources to get through this difficult period.
And Eddie, there's been this major bungle at St Vincent's Hospital with the pathology lab and the results there. What's the latest with that today?
Well, we're expecting an update in the next hour or so. Now, that was 400 people who received a false negative when they were, in fact, positive. Now, we may not know for days what the impact of that's going to be. They've all been out to relatives, they've all been on flights and the like. So we are expecting to ask some serious questions about that today once we get that statement. Now, in terms of the numbers today, slightly down, 6,324. Hospital admissions slightly up, 521. There were 3 deaths today. Now, also from midnight, QR codes are back in retail and hospitality, and also the density limits, 1 person per 2 square metres for pubs, clubs, restaurants, cafes. They all came back in at midnight. OK,
plenty going on. Thank you, Eddie. Well, with Victorians waiting hours in queues and as long as 5 days for PCR COVID test results, the state's government is flagging major changes to testing. Isabella Stashkovsky reports.
Victorians exposed to COVID could soon be cleared with an at-home rapid test in a bid to ease the pressure on testing facilities, which, as you can see, continue to be inundated for a second week in a row. The simple test would be for those who are not symptomatic, and if someone tested positive on the rapid test, they'd have to join the queue at the PCR facility, as would their household contacts. The state government has already ordered a large number of these tests, with experts agreeing it would be a sensible approach.
As far as the PCR testing, it should be used in reserve for confirmatory diagnosis or people who really are symptomatic or in the hospital.
Demand at clinics continues to be high. At Albert Park, capacity was reached early, cars being turned away just after the facility opened. Many in the line are still getting tested for travel. We spoke to a couple here from WA on their way to Tasmania.
People, the same as us, want to travel, so we have to get tested. So that's what we have to do, I guess.
Meanwhile, there are major delays in those results returning. Some Victorians who were swabbed 5 days ago are still waiting for those test results to come back, putting Christmas and travel plans into disarray.
Business groups are calling on all states to embrace rapid at-home testing to keep venues open as COVID case numbers spike. Let's go live now to federal politics reporter Eliza Edwards. Eliza, businesses are crying out for consistent rules.
Yeah, Lizzie, rising case numbers across most states have forced thousands of people into isolation over the past week, and that has flow-on effects for businesses, with some forced to shut their doors because of staff shortages. Business groups warn this could be a handbrake on the nation's economic recovery if it's not addressed. Essentially, they want the states to set uniform rules on isolation requirements, and they want a heavy reliance on at-home rapid tests to clear workers who have been exposed to COVID, so they're not waiting days for PCR test results. This seems to be a step Victoria is about to take, and the Australian industry group's Ines Willock says it would make sense for all states to go down this path.
Some states have really strong guidelines in place for venues, others are much looser. We need some certainty for business, and just for them just to stick to one rule, but understand that if they turn people away, make people go away because they're deemed a casual contact, that means that they won't turn up to work, the business will suffer, and also customers will suffer.
Lizzie, the federal government insists Australia's economic recovery remains on track despite the Omicron outbreak, trumpeting the success of the Home Builder program in generating construction activity, releasing new analysis today from the Master Builders Association, which estimates that projects built through Home Builder grants have provided a $120 billion boost to the economy and supported more than 370,000 jobs.
Home Builder program playing a huge role in the broader economic recovery, which is gaining pace as Australia opens up into the new year. Another reason why Australians should remain optimistic about the year ahead, and as I said, calm about the ongoing challenges of COVID-19.
So keep calm and carry on remains the government's message to the states too, because the recovery hinges on the nation continuing to open up, Lizzie.
OK, Eliza Edwards there for us in Canberra. Well, COVID rules are back in force across large parts of the UK to slow the spread of Omicron. Scotland, Wales and Northern Ireland have reintroduced limits in hospitality venues and nightclubs have been closed. There have been no changes in England, but ministers are expected to discuss new restrictions tomorrow. The Elevate Sydney Festival preparations have started to have an impact on city traffic. The southbound lanes of the Carl Expressway are now closed as the area above Circular Quay is transformed for the 6-day event starting on New Year's Day. The stellar lineup will appeal to all ages with stars including Tones and I, Tim Minchin, Baker Boy, right through to the Wiggles. Queensland's COVID outbreak has seen another leap in cases, the state recording 784 new infections. Let's go live now to Josh Bavis, who is in Brisbane for us this morning. Josh, we've just heard from Queensland health officials up there.
Yeah, Lizzie, the 784 cases come from about 24,000 tests over the past 24 hours. Now, of those cases, there are about 4 people being treated in hospital. There's a man in his 80s who's particularly unwell, but officials are saying that the numbers of those hospitalised is fairly well, and it shows that the vaccines are working. Now, out of those recently diagnosed include 72 hospital and healthcare workers. Another 300 hospital workers are currently quarantining. In the last 3 weeks, we've seen 400,000 people come into Queensland from interstate, and the Premier says that that's led to the spike in cases. And from today, people aged 5 to 11 will be able to book in for their vaccines. They'll be able to book in with Queensland Health from today, but won't be able to receive the jabs until January the 10th. That will be discretionary for the parents to decide.
The numbers of patients that are in hospital sick suggests strongly that these vaccines are working.
So that was the health officials talking a short time ago. They're expecting the case numbers to rise over the next few days as people come back from their Christmas holidays.
Josh Bavis there for us in Brisbane. Well, treacherous conditions have forced more than a quarter of this year's Sydney to Hobart fleet to retire. Stephanie Anderson joins me live from Hobart this morning. Steph, some real contenders have pulled out.
Yeah, that's right, Lizzie. In particular, Tassie Boat Alive. Now, previously, it's actually won the overall title here at the Sydney to Hobart, but this morning it was forced to make what's called a pan-pan call after damage to its hull was so significant that it actually started taking on water. Now, fortunately, everyone on board is safe and well, and we're told they are slowly but steadily heading back to Sydney for repairs. They've had to retire from the race. They're among 25 boats that have had to take that same action, some for engine issues, others for minor injuries to sailors, and then even things like internal bunks were damaged. When the entire fleet was only 88, it's a big portion that are no longer in the running, but 63 boats at this stage are still contenders and heading here to Constitution Dock. Today, the line honours leaderboard is chock-a-block with Supermaxis, no major surprise. There's only 3 in the running this year, but at the moment, Blackjack is in the lead. We've got Law Connect in number 2 and Scallywag following them in 3rd. There's not a whole lot separating those big 100-footers though, which bodes for a bit of excitement if they were to all hit the Derwent here together for an exciting end. Really, though, it's up to Mother Nature as to when that happens and how that happens. She's thrown a few challenges their way already, so we have to wait and see what's still to come, Lizzie.
She certainly has. Steph Anderson there for us in Hobart.